Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. Today I'm going over a hypothetical 2024 election matchup of Kamala Harris versus Donald Trump. Now, I'm going to start this off by a little disclaimer saying, I don't know if this will be exactly the 2024 election or not. I don't know if Kamala Harris will be the nominee or if it'll be Joe Biden or another Democrat. I don't know if Donald Trump decides to run or if he'll be the nominee or another Republican. I don't know. But I also do want to start off by saying I don't necessarily think Kamala Harris is one of the stronger Democratic candidates in 2024. I don't think we're going to see Kamala Harris do as good as Joe Biden did. Because one of the reasons I think Joe Biden won was he was able to win a lot of the suburban rural vote that didn't like President Trump, but also kind of felt safe and comfortable with Joe Biden, knowing that he wouldn't do anything too crazy like on energy or killing or cutting jobs. Like, and I don't think Kamala Harris, after 4 years as being VP and seeing like the energy cuts and job cuts already, I don't know if she'll be able to run on that. So I don't think Kamala Harris will be able to do as well as Joe Biden did on that. So with that said, though, Kamala Harris would start off by winning the West Coast safe, as expected, as any Democrat would. Kamala Harris, I'll do the Democrats first. Harris will win pretty much every state in the East Coast except for New Hampshire and Maine at large. We'll get into that. Maine's first district will go blue. New York will as will Illinois. So Kamala Harris will start off with 180 safe electoral votes. There's a few other states I want to get to too. I'll get to them in a sec. President Trump will then start winning a lot of the more rural conservative states as expected. The state of Nebraska, Trump will win statewide, as will districts 1 and 3. District 2 we're going to have to come back to because I don't know how the redistricting, if that will affect how the districts are laid out, but I would expect it to still be competitive. So President Trump would win all these states. Trump would get up to 124. Harris would be at 180. Now, there are a few states now I'm also going to characterize as safe Democrat because I don't really see it being too contentious. The first one being the state of Virginia. We've seen Virginia trend to the Democratic side for years now, and I don't think that's really going to change. Not only do I think it won't go Republican, but I don't think President Trump's going to put much of an effort forward anyway. So I think Kamala Harris would win Virginia. I think Colorado would also go blue. We've seen Colorado kind of be like Virginia. It's trended blue. It's not going to vote Republican. The Republicans probably aren't even going to campaign too hard for Colorado. Lastly, the state of New Mexico. New Mexico, for now, I could see it becoming potentially competitive, but I also thought it'd be more competitive in 2020, and it wasn't. So I really don't see New Mexico, especially with Biden loosening up the border restriction laws. I don't see New Mexico being more competitive than it otherwise would be. Next, President Trump versus Kamala Harris. I think he wins Ohio safe, and I think he wins Iowa pretty close to safe as well. I don't think those states would vote for Kamala Harris the same numbers they did for Joe Biden, and Joe Biden got killed in both states. And I don't think they would even support Kamala Harris even that close to that much. So Harris would be at 208. Trump would be at 247. Where do we go from here? Well, first things first, I think Kamala Harris would be able to hold the state of New Hampshire probably in a lean margin, I'd say. Again, I don't think she'd do as good as Joe Biden, but I still think the state doesn't really love President Trump. So I think Kamala Harris would still win there. I think the state of Maine at large would vote probably likely for Kamala Harris over Donald Trump. I think they kind of proved in 2020 that maybe 2016 was a fluke in statewide it being so close. Maine's second district, however, I think President Trump would still be able to hold on. I think President Trump would be able to hold on there, but it would still be very close in that district. So Harris at 214, Trump at 148. I think Trump holds on to Texas in a lean calm. This continues Texas's trend of getting closer and closer in each presidential election, but President Trump is still able to hold on to the state of Texas. Next, I go to the state of Nevada. Nevada continues to get closer. It was only 3% in 2020. I think Harris versus Trump, I think Harris still is able to hold on to it in a lean to maybe tilt calm, but probably lean. Nevada continues. It's getting more and more Republican trend, but by like 0.2%. So it's a very gradual increase, but Harris would still win. She's at 220. Trump is at 189. I think President Trump would win the state of Florida against Kamala Harris. I think Florida in 2020 proved that it voted for President Trump even as Joe Biden won. Florida is not going to be voting for a Democrat, I don't think, for a while. Unless President Trump does something to majorly screw up in the next few years, I would expect Florida to vote for President Trump over Kamala Harris. Both are now tied at 220 to 220. Arizona, the state of Arizona, I would expect Kamala Harris to win Arizona in the tilt column. Maybe a lean, but I'm going to put it in tilt column for now. Arizona showed they really do not like President Trump too much, and it voted for Joe Biden. I won't put it in the lean column because I don't think Harris would do as well as Joe Biden did in the state of Arizona, but I think she would still do good enough to flip the state and keep it Democratic for a second election in a row. Harris is at 232, Trump's at 220. The state of North Carolina, I think North Carolina would go very narrowly tilt for President Trump. I only think the Democrats are always competitive in North Carolina and might have a potential shot at flipping it. However, I still think the best Democrat to flip North Carolina was Barack Obama in 2008. And if Obama couldn't flip it in 2012, I don't see how Harris is going to flip it now. I don't think she would be able to flip North Carolina. I think President Trump would win here. Trump is 236, Harris is 232. Next, I think Minnesota would go lean for Kamala Harris. Minnesota voted more Democratic in 2020 than a lot of people, including myself, thought. I thought it'd be a little bit closer. The Senate race actually was closer than the presidential race, which was kind of a surprise. So, 241 for Kamala Harris, President Trump for 236. We're coming down to the four main swing states, just like the 2020 election. However, I don't think Kamala Harris is in as good as a situation as Joe Biden was. That being said, Nebraska's 2nd district, I don't know if they turn out the same amount of numbers for Harris as President Trump. I think President Trump wins his district by a tilt margin, very close. However, I think he is able to hold on. The big flip that might be a surprise to some is I think President Trump flips the state of Wisconsin. I don't think Kamala Harris, as I said, will be able to win the same amount of votes that Joe Biden got in the Rust Belt. Kamala Harris, despite being Joe Biden's VP, she'll be having to run on the record of the policies President Biden did on jobs, energy, cutting fracking, and I don't think these Rust Belt voters are going to give Biden or Harris a second chance. And I think that's going to be reflected in how Wisconsin votes. I think the state of Pennsylvania will also flip back to President Trump. I think that if it's Joe Biden versus Trump again, I think Biden probably wins Pennsylvania. But I don't think Kamala Harris would win the state of Pennsylvania. I just don't think she's a very good candidate to win the Rust Belt. Joe Biden, I think, is probably the Democrats' best candidate in the Rust Belt. And I think without Biden on the ticket, President Trump would win Pennsylvania and Wisconsin back. However, Michigan and Georgia are both very close. And the question would be, can the Democrats overperform what Joe Biden did in 2020 in both of these states? I don't know, but I don't think so either. Michigan did vote for President Trump in 2016 narrowly. It was only 47.3 to 47. And President Trump got about 47.6% in 2020. So I'm starting to think that 48% is probably the ceiling for a Republican in Michigan, unless the Democratic candidate is really bad. So I would expect Kamala Harris to still be able to hold on to the state of Michigan very narrowly, but able to hold on over President Trump. So the election all comes down to the state of Georgia. Georgia has a history of electing Republicans, but it did vote for Joe Biden in 2020. We saw a lot of suburban shifts in Georgia, and it's kind of hard to justify Georgia going for Trump or Harris, to be honest. I don't think Harris would get the same amount of vote numbers as Joe Biden did, which would hurt her. I also think that the voting restriction bills that the state Senate is proposing in Georgia would benefit President Trump and the Republicans. However, I don't know how well liked President Trump is going to be in 4 years in the state of Georgia. So I could see Kamala Harris winning the state of Georgia narrowly and having Harris win 272 to Trump's 266. Or I could see Georgia going to President Trump at 282 to 256 over Harris. I could really see Georgia going either way. And I think Georgia is really where the race is going to be decided. My gut instinct tells me to put Georgia to President Trump, but it is very close. I'm really not sure. But I think Trump versus Harris, I think Harris does much worse than Joe Biden did. I'm not 100% confident she would win, and I think President Trump might beat her if this is the election in 2024. that's going to do it for today's video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like this video and subscribe to my channel for more videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.